The morning sun reflected off the chrome walls of the Galactic Council chamber. Ambassador James Harrison walked down the long corridor that led to the main hall. His steps echoed on the polished floor. Other delegates from 1,000 different worlds passed him without looking. They did not know who he was. Earth had no real power in this place. The chamber doors opened before him. The vast room stretched out like a living monument to power and control. 3,000 representatives sat in tiers that rose toward the ceiling. Each one represented a major species or faction in the galaxy. Though with their hard crystal bodies, though with their floating forms, the ancient magisters who had been around since the early days of space travel, and hundreds of others. James Harrison was alone. No one came with him from Earth. They could not afford to send a full delegation. The Council did not think Earth warranted that kind of attention. The Council's speaker was his species lived for thousands of years. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched primitive species crawl out of their home worlds and claim their place in the stars, but did not believe Earth belonged in that story. "Let the record show that Earth submits a formal request," announced a clerk who did not look at James. The words were spoken without interest. They were simple procedure. James stepped forward. His hands held the data tablet that contained Earth's proposal. Every number was real. Every calculation was based on real threat assessment. The dangers facing human space were genuine. The hegemony was moving closer to Earth's borders. Small pirate fleets raided human colonies. Unknown ships had crossed into human space 3 times in the past 5 years. "Earth respectfully requests permission to expand its naval forces," James said. His voice was steady. He had practiced this moment 1,000 times. "Our current fleet size is insufficient to protect our people. We ask the Council to approve the construction of 50 new military vessels over the next 10 years. This represents a reasonable defensive measure." Silence fell across the chamber. It was not the silence of respect. It was the silence of a large animal deciding if it should pay attention to something small. Lord Vex, a commander, was the first to speak. His voice was sharp and clear. "Earth requests to build 50 ships. Earth has how many ships currently?" 23, James replied, "but with proper construction facilities and resource allocation." 23, repeated a magister whose name James could not pronounce. The ancient being turned to other magisters near it. They made sounds like wind blowing through empty caves. It might have been communication. It might have been laughter. "Earth is a single world," said a representative from the Nebular Confederacy. Its form was made of gas that shifted in the recycled air of the chamber. "A single world with limited resources, limited technology, and limited population. You wish to expand a military that barely exists." Other voices began to speak. They came quickly, one after another. Some were curious in a dismissive way. Others were openly hostile. A few simply did not respond at all. For them, Earth was not important enough to acknowledge. "What threat do you imagine facing?" asked. His tone suggested he already knew the answer would be stupid. "Surely you do not believe the hegemony plans to attack Earth. They have no interest in your world. Your resources are minimal. Your strategic value is negligible." "There have been hostile incursions," James began. "Border crossings," interrupted an officer. "Accidental, minor incidents, nothing that requires a military response." James felt his jaw tighten, but he continued. "Earth faces emerging threats we believe warrant defensive preparation. We are not asking for an aggressive expansion. We are asking for the right to protect ourselves." The chamber erupted into noise. It was not angry noise, it was laughter. The crystal bodies resonated with their amusement. Sound waves bounced through their forms. They pulsed with colors that indicated joy or contempt or both. The ancient magisters closed their eyes as if savoring a delicious moment. Even species that normally showed no emotion seemed to find something funny in this moment. James Harrison stood alone in the center of the chamber, while 3,000 representatives of the galaxy laughed at him. Raised one of his appendages. Silence fell immediately. The speaker had decided to give Earth one final moment of attention. "The human species shows ambition," said. It sounded like a teacher speaking to a child who had tried to solve a problem far above its level. "This is not unexpected from young species. However, ambition without capability is merely fantasy. Earth will maintain its current naval allocation," the speaker continued. "The Council will not approve expansion. However, if Earth feels threatened by external forces, we will assign 3 patrol vessels from the military to monitor your region. This is a gesture of goodwill toward a young species attempting to find its place in our galaxy." The chamber erupted again, but this time there was no laughter, there was approval. The council liked the decision. Earth would be given protection like a child given a guardian. It was a kind gesture, it was also a clear message. Earth was not fit to protect itself. James Harrison felt the weight of 7,000 eyes on him, not in respect, not in fear, in indifference. He was a minor annoyance that had been dealt with. The council could now move on to more important matters. "The request is," said finally, "the council has spoken, this matter is concluded." The chamber began to empty. Other items on the agenda moved forward. Earth was forgotten as quickly as it had been acknowledged. James Harrison stood alone for a moment longer. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. No one watched him leave. 3,000 light-years away, on a hidden station in the outer reaches of human space, Admiral Victoria Cross received the message. The Council had laughed. The Council had refused. The Council had offered human worlds the protection of alien guardians rather than the right to defend themselves. She read the official rejection. She listened to recordings of the laughter. She studied the vote results. Not a single representative had voted in Earth's favor. Not one had suggested an alternative. Not one had treated the request as anything but a joke. Victoria Cross closed her eyes. She had known this would happen. She had prepared for this exact moment. "Begin final stages of protocol liberation," she said quietly into her. The asteroid field stretched out for millions of kilometers. Rocks of different sizes floated in the black of space. Ice and metal and dust mixed together. Nothing seemed alive here. Nothing seemed important. That was exactly what the Galactic Council believed. This region of space was worthless. No valuable resources existed here. No major powers controlled it. And most importantly, no one was watching it closely. Admiral Victoria Cross stood in the command center of Shipyard 1. The facility was enormous. It covered an area larger than a small city. But from the outside, it looked like nothing. Mining equipment, processing facilities, standard industrial operations that dozens of civilizations ran in outer space every day. The Council's surveillance satellites had looked at this place and registered it as unimportant. They were wrong. Captain Daniel Santos worked beside the Admiral. His eyes moved across dozens of different monitors. Each screen showed a different section of the shipyard, and in each section, human workers moved with perfect coordination. Building, welding, installing, testing. They had been doing this work for 30 years. 30 years of building in secret. 73 Capital-class warships. Each one was designed specifically for combat. Each one could fight multiple alien warships and survive. Each one represented years of work and billions of dollars of hidden resources. Every ship was a miracle of human engineering, and none of them officially existed. "The Valiant just came online," Daniel said. He was checking the final reports from the last construction bay. "Last AI core installed, full weapons systems activated. She is ready for duty." Victoria nodded. She did not smile. Smiling was a luxury she had learned to avoid a long time ago. The work was too serious. The stakes were too high. "How many total?" she asked. 73 capital ships, Daniel confirmed. 238 support vessels, 30,000 trained personnel, supply lines connected to 5 separate hidden mining operations. We are at 100% operational capacity, Admiral. Victoria looked at the holographic display that showed Earth's position relative to the hidden fleets. Each small light represented a ship. Each one was manned by humans who had given up normal lives to serve in secret. Families did not know where their sons and daughters worked. Governments did not know this fleet existed. Even most of Earth's leadership only understood the barest details of what had been built here. 3,000 light-years away, similar facilities were coming online. Another shadow fleet, then another. Humanity had learned a hard lesson thousands of years ago. The galaxy belongs to those willing to take it. Captain Sophie arrived with new information. She commanded the logistics division. She understood supply lines and resources and the enormous challenge of feeding an entire hidden fleet. "Admiral, the last transport arrived from Colony 7, she said. Food supplies are now at 95% capacity. Medical supplies arrived from Antarctica yesterday. Weapons components from the lunar base are queued for delivery. We will be ready." "Ready for what?" asked a voice from the doorway. Victoria turned. Doctor stood in the entrance to the command center. He was the civilian who ran the Research and Development Division. For 3 decades, he had overseen the creation of weapons systems that pushed the boundaries of human technology. Weapons that should not have been possible. Weapons that now made this fleet dangerous enough to matter. "The Council has voted," Victoria said. She had the message open on her personal screen. "They have rejected Earth's request. They have offered us the protection of their patrol vessels, as if we were children needing guidance." Nodded slowly. He had known this would happen. Everyone in the secret program had known. The Galactic Council did not respect humanity. The universe had decided humans were too young, too weak, too insignificant to matter. That decision was about to prove very wrong. "Then we activate Liberation Protocol," said. It was not a question. "Yes," Victoria confirmed. "But not yet, not immediately. We will wait to see how Earth's government responds. We will give diplomacy a final chance. But if the Council continues to treat our people as insignificant, then we move forward." She turned back to the display. 73 ships, each one bristling with weapons that the galaxy's greatest powers had decided humans could not be trusted to possess. Each one crewed by men and women who had trained for this moment their entire lives. The military had more ships. The ancient magisters controlled more technology. The collective had more power in the formal structures of galactic government. But none of them had anything that matched the fury of a species that had finally decided it was tired of being ignored. Daniel moved closer to the Admiral. "When do you think it will happen?" "Soon," Victoria said. "The Council will continue to push. The pirate attacks on our colonies will continue. And eventually, one of 2 things will happen. Either we will die quietly as we have always been expected to do, or we will remind the galaxy that humans are not a species to be mocked." She pulled up a different display. This one showed Earth from space. The blue world. Home. The place where billions of humans lived their lives unaware that everything was about to change. "The Council speaker made a mistake today," Victoria continued. "He laughed at us. They all did, but said something important without meaning to. He asked us what threat we imagined facing." "And what threat do we face?" Sophie asked. Victoria looked directly at both of them. "A council that underestimates us, a galaxy that sees us as pets, and a universe that will not give us respect unless we take it ourselves." The shipyard hummed with activity around them. Thousands of workers doing their jobs in secret, building something that would change everything. When the order came through, every human commander in every hidden facility would receive it at exactly the same moment. But that moment had not yet arrived. For now, humanity remained hidden. The Shadow Fleet continued its secret work in the darkness of space, and the Galactic Council, comfortable in its power and certain of its understanding of the galaxy, had no idea what was coming. Victoria looked at the display one more time. Each ship represented hope. Hope that humans could claim their place in the galaxy. Hope that preparation and sacrifice and courage might be enough. "Get everyone ready," she said finally. "When the order comes, we move with perfect coordination. Every ship, every crew, every human soldier in the galaxy will know that this is the moment that changes everything." The signal came through at midnight Earth time. Every human military facility on every human world received it simultaneously. The message was simple. 4 words: Liberation Protocol activated. In the outer edges of human space, Admiral Victoria Cross stood in the command center of the lead ship. She watched as her fleet began to move. The asteroids that had hidden them for so long started to fall away. The first capital ship, the one named Defiant, pushed forward from its hidden position. Then another. Then another. Within hours, 73 warships were moving toward open space. Each one carried weapons that would have made the Council nervous if they had known about them. Each one carried crews that had trained their entire lives for this moment. In different parts of human space, the same scene was repeating. Hundreds of ships were breaking free from hidden locations, moving from shadow into light, from secret into reality. The Galactic Council's main surveillance station was located on a station orbiting the Council's home world. Thousands of technicians monitored space traffic, military movements, and potential threats to the established order. These technicians had become comfortable. Nothing ever surprised them. Space followed rules. Powers respected boundaries. Younger species knew their place. The first alert came through at 3:47 Council Standard Time. A technician named, who belonged to a species that saw in electromagnetic waves, looked at her monitors in confusion. Something was wrong. Her instruments were showing readings that did not make sense. "Station Commander, I am getting anomalies in the outer sector," she reported. The commander, a named Vex, did not look up from his work. "Anomalies of what kind?" "Energy signatures, I count. 6 separate formations breaking through what appear to be hidden warp gates. The formations are large, approximately 20 ships in each formation." Vex looked up. This was unusual enough to deserve attention. "Identify the ships." Worked quickly, her instruments scanned the energy signatures. They were unlike anything in the official database. Different design, different weapons configuration, different power distribution. "The ships are human. I am detecting human design signatures and power systems consistent with Earth military patterns." The silence in the control room was absolute. "Repeat that identification," Vex demanded. "Confirmed human signatures across all 6 formations," said. Her voice was steady, but her colors shifted nervously. "Formation 1 is breaking away from the outer sector and moving into disputed space. Formation 2 is heading toward the northern boundaries. Formation 3 has turned toward Council-aligned territories. All formations are maintaining military formations. All ships appear to be fully combat-capable." Vex was already moving toward the central display. Other commanders from different species were being called to the station. Within minutes, senior military officers from every major power were receiving reports of the same phenomenon. The collective pulsed with communication patterns that indicated alarm. The ancient magisters requested independent verification from their own systems. The Nebular Confederacy moved patrol ships to intercept. Within 2 hours, the entire galaxy knew that something unprecedented was happening. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Who had laughed at Ambassador Harrison just days before now sat in absolute silence. The holographic display in front of him showed ship positions across multiple sectors. Human ships, hundreds of them, appearing simultaneously from hidden locations across an enormous area of space. "Give me an exact count," he demanded. The technician on duty looked at her calculations with disbelief. "Initial count shows 523 confirmed human military vessels. The count continues to climb as new formations complete their emergence. Based on current trajectory, we estimate the final count may exceed 547 ships." 547, repeated a magister. The ancient being had been around for 6,000 years. It had never heard of anything like this. Lord Vex, the commander who had dismissed Earth's request, looked at the displays with a mixture of shock and respect. "Their formations are perfect. Their ships are built to current military standards. They have achieved complete communications coordination across multiple sectors simultaneously. This is not an accidental discovery. This is a planned military operation." "Where did they come from?" demanded a representative from the free worlds. "This is impossible. We have surveillance systems. We have monitoring equipment. Human military movement of this scale could not have occurred without detection." "They hid," said a magistrate slowly. Understanding was dawning. "They constructed these ships in secret, in locations we did not think to monitor. They waited, they planned, and then they moved all at once." The implications began to settle over the council like a weight. Humanity had built a fleet that rivaled the military power of established galactic factions. They had done it in secret. They had achieved it while the council was treating their ambassador with mockery. They had created something that changed the balance of power in the galaxy. In the command center of the defiant Admiral Victoria Cross sat calmly in her chair. All around her, monitors showed the human fleet moving through space. No human ships had fired a weapon. No human weapons had been raised against anyone. The fleets were moving through space in perfect military formations. But the message was clear. It was delivered by Admiral Cross on all council frequencies and every public channel the galaxy used for official communication. Her voice was steady, professional, the voice of someone who had considered every consequence and made her choice anyway. "The Galactic Council has made its position toward humanity clear. We are too young, too weak, too insignificant. The Council has us the right to defend ourselves. It has offered us protection like children. It has mocked our attempts to ensure the survival of our species. We will no longer accept this position." The message continued. Every word was carefully chosen. Every human military vessel in the galaxy is now operating under combat alert status. Every human world has increased its defensive readiness. Every human fleet is prepared to enforce human sovereignty over human territories. We do not seek conflict with the Galactic Council or any established power, but we will no longer ask for permission to protect ourselves. The screen cut to black, the transmission ended. The silence in the council chamber lasted for several minutes. No one spoke. No one moved. The galaxy had just shifted on its axis. A species that had been considered insignificant had suddenly become impossible to ignore. "What do we do?" asked a young representative from one of the minor powers. The answer came from himself. His voice was different now, not mocking, not dismissive, almost respectful. "We listen," the council speaker said, "because humans have reminded us of something we had forgotten. The galaxy belongs to those willing to take it, and humanity has just demonstrated that they are willing." The emergency session continued through the night, but everyone in that room knew the truth. The balance of power had changed. The mockery had stopped. Humanity had disappeared from obscurity and appeared as a force that could no longer be ignored. By morning, every news service in the galaxy was reporting on what had happened. By evening, the first serious negotiations would begin. By the next day, humanity would sit as equals at tables they had been access to before. The Council had laughed at Earth. By morning, every human armada had disappeared from hiding. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen a session like this one. Representatives from 15,000 different interest groups, factions, and sub-governments were either present or watching through secure transmissions. The emergency meeting lasted for 20 hours without pause. Arguments flew back and forth. Demands were made. Threats were issued. Alliances were questioned. The military command wanted immediate military response. They had more ships. They had more experienced commanders. They had technology that was older and supposedly more refined. Why should they sit at the negotiation table with humans who had appeared out of nowhere? Lord Vex presented his argument to the council. "This is a threat to the established order. We should use overwhelming force to suppress this rebellion before it spreads. Earth is a single planet. Their resources are limited. We can destroy them before they pose any real danger." But the ancient magisters disagreed. "The humans have demonstrated something important. They have the capacity to prepare. They have the intelligence to plan. They have the organization to execute a plan of extraordinary complexity. These are not the characteristics of a species that can be easily destroyed." "They have fewer ships than our military," Vex argued. "They have as many ships as they built," a magistrate replied. "Who knows what else they can build if given time? Who knows what other hidden facilities exist? You propose to attack them when we have just learned that their real capacity is unknown. That would be the action of a foolish military commander, not a wise one." The Nebular Confederacy took a different position. Instead of arguing for or against human military strength, they simply said nothing. They abstained from the discussion. This surprised many observers, but there was a reason for their silence. The Confederacy saw possibility in this situation. If humanity had risen to challenge the Council, perhaps other young species might do the same. Perhaps the rigid power structure that the Council maintained was not as stable as everyone believed. On Earth, Ambassador James Harrison received urgent messages. The Council wanted to communicate with him. They wanted to understand human intentions. They wanted to negotiate. Harrison moved quickly to the communication center. His hands shook slightly as he prepared the secure transmission system. The Council had laughed at him 4 days ago. Now they wanted to talk. Admiral Victoria Cross connected to the same secure channel from the command ship. Her face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but resolved. "They want to negotiate," Harrison said. "Good," Victoria replied. "We are ready." The first message from was brief and respectful. That was the most important change. The Council speaker was treating Earth as an equal. The mockery was completely gone. "Admiral Cross, the Council wishes to understand the purpose of this expansion," said formally. Victoria's response was simple and direct. "Protection. We exist in a hostile galaxy. The Council has made clear that we cannot expect protection from your organization. We have therefore decided to provide it ourselves. This is not expansion. This is survival." "You would threaten the entire galactic order?" asked a commander. No, Victoria said firmly. We would not threaten anything. We simply exercise the same right every other species holds, the right to defend our people. This is not expansion. This is survival. The word survival would be repeated many times in the following hours. Captain Daniel Santos monitored the communications from the Defiant. He watched as human diplomats took over the discussion from Admiral Cross. The shift in responsibility was clear. The military had demonstrated strength. Now the diplomats would use that strength to negotiate. Ambassador Harrison's voice was different now. It was no longer humble. It was no longer asking. It was stating facts. Earth requests full recognition as a space-faring power with complete military sovereignty. We request the right to maintain defensive forces proportional to our population and technological capacity. We request the removal of the patrol vessel assignments that the Council offered. In exchange, we will not expand beyond our current established borders. We will respect existing treaties. We will not initiate hostile actions against any faction. We will participate peacefully in the larger galactic community. The terms were clear. Earth wanted respect. In return, Earth offered stability. The Council debated for the next 16 hours. Arguments went back and forth. The wanted guarantees that human military forces would not interfere with their operations. The Magisters wanted assurance that humanity would not use its newfound power to challenge the existing treaties. Minor powers wanted confirmation that Earth would not become a new dominant force that would push them aside. Each concern was addressed. Victoria and Harrison worked together like they had planned this conversation for decades. Maybe they had. Maybe this moment had been inevitable from the first day humans decided to build in secret. By the final hours of the debate, the positions had settled. The only question remaining was the vote. Captain Sophie watched from the human command center as the voting began. 3,000 representatives of the Council cast their votes. The display showed the results in real time. In favor of human sovereignty, one number climbing higher and higher. Against, another number increasing slower. Abstaining, a smaller number. When the final count appeared on the screen, even Victoria Cross allowed herself a small moment of emotion. 3,172 votes in favor. 834 votes against. 94 abstentions. Humanity had been recognized, not as a minor power, not as a young species that needed guidance, as a full member of the galactic community with complete sovereignty over its own territories. Made the formal announcement himself. His voice carried the weight of a being who had made a serious decision. The Galactic Council recognizes Earth and the human species as a space-faring civilization with full military and political sovereignty. All previous restrictions are lifted. Earth is now a voting member of the Galactic Council with all rights and responsibilities that position entails. The chamber fell silent, not in mockery, in acceptance. On Earth, the news spread instantly. Hidden military facilities were suddenly public knowledge. The secret fleet became the greatest achievement in human history. Schools named their buildings after Admiral Victoria Cross. Every human settlement celebrated the moment that changed everything. But in the command center of the Defiant, Admiral Cross felt no celebration. She understood what had just happened. Humanity had not won something. Humanity had claimed something that was always theirs to claim. The right to protect themselves. The right to be treated as equals. The right to matter in the galaxy. Captain Daniel Santos approached her station. "We did it, Admiral. We achieved full sovereignty." Victoria nodded slowly. "We achieved a seat at the table. That is all. The real work starts now. We must prove to the galaxy that we deserve that seat. We must show them that human sovereignty means human responsibility. We must demonstrate that we can be trusted with the power we have claimed." "Do you think we can do that?" Daniel asked. "Yes," Victoria said. She was looking at the holographic display that showed Earth floating in space. Home, the world they had fought for. Humans have always been good at proving themselves when given the chance. The question was never whether we could do it. The question was whether anyone 1 week had passed since the vote. The morning sun rose over Earth exactly as it had for billions of years, but everything else had changed. Admiral Victoria Cross stood on the observation deck of the Defiant. The ship hung in orbit above Earth. She could see the continents below, the blue oceans, the clouds moving through the atmosphere, the world that billions of humans called home, the world that humans had finally fought to protect. She was alone with her thoughts. No one disturbed her. The crew understood that the Admiral needed this moment of silence. The battle was won. The negotiations were complete. Now came something harder. Now came the real work. In New York, former secret military personnel walked through public streets. Their faces appeared on news broadcasts. Military academies that had been hidden suddenly became public institutions. Construction facilities that had worked in darkness for 30 years were now celebrated as the greatest achievement of human engineering. The hidden was hidden no longer. Captain Daniel Santos stood with his wife in their new home. For 30 years, he had been unable to tell her where he worked. He had missed birthdays and anniversaries. He had chosen duty to his species over presence in his family. Now she knew the truth. Now she understood. "Was it worth it?" she asked him. Daniel looked at their daughter. She was young enough to have grown up believing that humans could achieve anything. She would never know the shame of a species treated as insignificant. She would never experience the mockery that had driven her father to secret work. "Yes," Daniel said, "it was worth it." In Seoul, a young engineer named Minjun Park reviewed job offers. Dozens of major companies now wanted to hire people with military construction experience. His knowledge had been secret. Now it was valuable. He would be able to support his family and build new ships. Ships that would be built openly. Ships that would fly under the flag of a recognized galactic power. The military academies across human space were filling with recruits. Young humans wanted to serve. They wanted to be part of the force that had claimed humanity's place in the galaxy. The applications outnumbered available spaces by 40 to 1. On the moon, construction began on new facilities. These would not be hidden. These would be built openly. Humans would work in sunlight instead of shadow. The secret age was ending. The public age was beginning. But not everyone celebrated. Ambassador James Harrison sat in his office on the council station. He had been at the negotiation table. He had spoken the words that secured humanity's future, but he was troubled. He brought his concerns to Victoria during a secure communication. The Admiral was already expecting his call. "We have what we wanted," James said. "Sovereignty, recognition, military equality, so why do I feel like something is still wrong?" Victoria did not answer immediately. She understood his concern better than anyone. "Because now we must live up to what we have claimed," she said finally. "The Council laughed at us because we seemed weak. Now we are strong, but strength brings responsibility. The galaxy will watch every action we take. Every decision will be judged. We cannot afford mistakes." "They hated us when we asked for permission," James said. "What if they hate us now that we have taken power?" "Then we will live with that hatred," Victoria replied. "But at least they will not mock us. At least they will not see us as children needing guidance. We have earned something real, a seat at the table, the right to have our voices heard, the ability to protect our people." In the military command center, Lord Vex reviewed the human fleet formations. He had expected to face inferior technology. Instead, he had faced something that matched their own capabilities in many ways. Different design, different weapons, but equally effective. He filed a report with his superiors. It was a grudging acknowledgement of human military competence. The report recommended respecting human territorial boundaries. It suggested that any future conflict with humanity would be costly. It concluded that they had made an enemy they did not want to have. That report would be read by military commanders across the galaxy. The message was clear. Humanity could fight. Humanity could hurt you. Humanity was not to be dismissed. On Earth, Admiral Victoria Cross finally allowed herself to rest. She sat in a garden on the island of Bali. Ancient trees surrounded her. The ocean was visible in the distance. This was the place she had dreamed about for 30 years while building ships in secret. Daniel Santos found her there. He had brought her a drink and news from the diplomatic corps. "The Magisters want to establish a permanent human representative on the council," he said. "They are suggesting that we nominate 3 candidates for formal approval. It would be the first permanent human seat." Victoria accepted the drink, but did not respond immediately. "We have been here for 1 week," she said finally. "In 1 week, we have gone from being treated as insignificant to being given a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. This is remarkable progress, but it frightens me." "Why?" Daniel asked. "Because I know what we are," Victoria said. She looked out at the ocean. "We are humans, we are imperfect, we make mistakes, we have prejudices, we are capable of great kindness and great cruelty. The galaxy has just given us power to act on all of those qualities. The question is whether we will use that power wisely. In the orbital construction facility, work began on the next generation of ships. These would be faster, better armed, more advanced than anything the current fleet possessed. Humans had learned that military strength required constant development, constant improvement, constant innovation. 5,000 years of human history had led to this moment. Every war, every achievement, every failure. It had all been leading toward the day when humans had to decide if they were capable of claiming their own destiny. The Council had laughed because they believed humans were insignificant. The Council had been wrong. Humans were not insignificant. Humans were simply patient. Humans were willing to work in secret for 30 years to achieve a goal. Humans were willing to sacrifice comfort and safety and family time to build something that mattered. That was not weakness, that was strength. By evening, the celebrations across Earth had calmed. The parties had ended. The speeches had been made. Human civilization was settling into a new normal, a normal where humans were recognized, where humans mattered, where human voices would be heard in the decisions that shaped the galaxy. Admiral Victoria Cross left the garden as sunset painted the sky in colors of red and gold. She took a transport back to the Defiant. Work waited. There were supplies to allocate, training programs to develop, protocols to establish. The hidden fleet had become the visible fleet. Now it had to prove that visibility was earned and deserved. In the command center, she reviewed reports from all sections. Every ship was operational. Every crew was ready. Every human soldier in the galaxy understood that they were part of something historic. The Council had laughed at Earth because it seemed small and weak and insignificant. But the Council had made a terrible mistake. The Council had looked at humans and seen only what was visible. They had failed to see what was hidden. They had failed to understand that small things could grow large. That patience could lead to preparation. That preparation could lead to power. By morning, every human armada had not disappeared. Instead, they had become visible. They had become real. They had become a force that the galaxy could no longer ignore. And in that visibility, in that reality, in that recognition, humanity had finally found its place. The Council would never laugh at Earth again. They might fear Earth, they might respect Earth, they might disagree with Earth, but they would never again laugh. That was what 30 years of secret preparation had purchased. Not dominance, not superiority, not the conquest of the galaxy. Simply respect, the right to be taken seriously, the right to protect what mattered most. And for humanity, that was everything that truly mattered. Give us the chance to try. The negotiations would continue. Treaties would be signed. Formal agreements would be drawn up. The details would take months to finalize. But the essential moment had passed. Humanity had taken its place in the galaxy, not as supplicants, not as pets, as equals. And the galaxy would never be the same. Daniel and Sophie left to carry out their tasks. Victoria remained at her station watching the displays, 73 warships, hundreds of support vessels, 30,000 soldiers, all hidden, all ready. All waiting for the moment when humanity stopped asking for permission and started taking what was rightfully theirs. In the darkness of space, humanity's answer to the Council's mockery was already being built, piece by piece, ship by ship, and moment by moment. On device, the Council has chosen, now let us show them what they have chosen to ignore. The order went out across 30 hidden installations, across 5,000 workers, across decades of secret preparation. Humanity's hidden fleets would soon be hidden no longer. By morning, the galaxy would learn the cost of mockery. But that morning had not yet come. For now, James Harrison walked through the halls of the Galactic Council, one human among trillions, representing a species that the universe had decided was too small to matter. He did not know that everything was about to change.